Hi, welcome back. Mitch Argon with Calneva Realty. I'm going to take you through the Reno Tahoe market update in just a few minutes. Let's get started. Okay, let's jump in. March 2026. First off, we'll start with median price, which we typically do each month. And as you can see, we're modestly up on a year-over-year basis, so low to mid-single digits. Tahoe has a big jump that moves around quite a bit, so that's not indicative of a trend line by any stretch. The thing that stands out here for the most part, other than Carson Valley being down a little bit here, again, that's up and down, is that Fernley at 432,000 was a new median price high, really of all time. It's up 8% over the year before, but that is the highest. That's a high water mark, and so it's been a while since we've seen that in any of our markets, and so that's worth noting. I think the rationale behind this is tied into affordability. Homes are more affordable in Lyon County and in Fernley in particular compared to Reno and Sparks. And so what you're seeing is probably a little more demand going in the Fernley market. And of course, with the industrial center being halfway between Sparks and Fernley, it does create a lot more economic fuel for people who want to live in Fernley and who work in that area. So that's of note here for this month. If we look at things on a 2-year back trend line, for the most part, everybody's markets goes up and down at different times, but for the most part, we're fairly flat. I mean, if I go back to say the Reno market at 637K here, I think this market was at 635 in June of 2022. So we're almost 4 years out into what I would call a market that's had relatively flat pricing, low inventory due to higher rates, higher challenges on affordability, et cetera. So take a look there. Home sold, a lot of red here in the home sold, which is kind of interesting. We are seeing a pretty significant increase, 25% increase in new pending sales. Each week we track that in our sales and office meetings. So you would think that our home sales would be up higher than what we're showing. They're actually down on a year-over-year basis for many markets here. And so what that tends to lead to is that we're seeing probably more escrows falling out than normal. And that's a trend that's been happening on a national basis as well. So home sales on an aggregate basis still a little bit sluggish. We're down a little bit, and the markets, of course, are down materially 25% probably since pre-COVID transaction volume levels for homes sold. Month supply of inventory, bit of a mixed bag, but you see it's down quite a bit, and it's with some big numbers. I'll show you a chart here in just a moment on this one, but you can see very stable, 1.8 to 1.8. Here, Sparks is down 1.8 to 1.2, 1.3 to 1.4, just about flat. Carson Valley is down from 3.2 to 2, up slightly in Dayton from 1.5 to 1.7, and substantially down from 1.9 to 0.9 in Fernley. Tahoe, this number is not as meaningful because not being a primary market, the month supply of inventory probably doesn't play as much into the overall supply demand and pressure on pricing. So again, very stable markets. Inventory fairly consistently down. We are seeing this trend. Each week we track new homes going under contract and new homes coming on the market. And each week we see inventory contracting, not a lot, but a little bit and a little bit and a little bit, each week getting tighter and tighter. So we'll talk a little bit more about inventory compared to 2019 pre-COVID levels, which is a benchmark for many markets in the country, in just a little bit. This shows the units for sale visually on inventory. So you can see we're currently at 461, which is just up 3 from last year at 458, and up quite a bit from where we were 2 years ago, 346, very tight here. But generally speaking, we're seeing our inventory levels fall on a week-by-week basis. That's good news for sellers, less competition, and more challenging news for buyers, fewer choices to choose from and less leverage or negotiating power when you're pursuing a property. Month supply of inventory, we touched on, you can see here visually where it's been, and you can see a look back 1 year and 2 years. For the most part, very stable. And that speaks to this market dynamic that we have, which has been pretty well established now The higher rates are keeping inventory levels low. The higher rates are keeping buying power challenged. And pricing has been fairly stable. Month supply of inventory has been fairly stable. Inventory slightly down. With regards to inventory currently, this chart shows you the blue line, which is inventory for 2026, our current time, so March of 2026. This is 868 homes on the market. That's for Reno, Sparks, Carson Valley, Dayton, and Fernley. So a pretty broad swath of northern Nevada. That number is 868. Same measure, inventory levels in 2019 on this line here. That number was 1,205. So pre-COVID levels were 1,200. Now we are well past COVID. We're at 868. So you can see we're well below our inventory levels of 2019. The markets in the country, if you read press like Austin, Texas, Southeast Florida, we've seen this happening in Tucson. We're seeing a little bit of it in Vegas as well. We so far have remained somewhat immune to that market phenomenon, where they're seeing inventory levels today sometimes as much as 2 times where they were in COVID. So by comparison, we would have 2,400 homes in the market versus 800 homes in the market today, which is about 3 times as many homes in the market as we have on the market now. So we're not seeing that effect here in our local markets. Things are remaining fairly well intact with the trends that have been established since late 2022 when the rates have risen. That's going to do it this month. That's a wrap. The full report is down below the video with a link. If you want to look at any more of this in detail, take a look there. If you have any questions, post them on the YouTube page here that you're on watching the video, or reply to an email if you receive the email. If you're working with one of our agents in either our Reno office or our Carson Valley office, reach out directly to them, and we'd be happy to help any way we can with any matters relating to real estate. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next month. Enjoy your day.